Jai Shri Mataji, everybody. My name is Ishan Gupta, and I graduated this year from ISPS from grade 12. This is an attempt to bring back the alumni of ISPS together on one forum with Sadhana Didi. And with me, I have 4 alumni from 4 different phases of the school. Please.
So my name is Niranjana Satashetty, and I studied in ISPS from 1997 until 2006. And now I am back as a teacher. So I'm an English teacher in the school and a history teacher.
Jai Shri Mataji, my name is Akula Smiley. I was here for 10 years as a student. My first year was 2005, and then I left in 2014. I'm back again as a teacher, so I'm a qualified primary teacher in Australia.
Jai Shri Mataji, my name is Sarita Keeley. I was here in the 90s, from class 1 to class 9, and now I'm a teacher here, and my children are also students studying here in ISPS.
Jai Shri Mataji, I'm Aryan Avinash Palshetkar from Ratnagiri. I was in ISPS since 2019 and I left it in 2023. I came back this year as a dorm uncle. So far it has been very good.
Nice. So as we mentioned earlier, that this is our attempt to bring back ISPS and share stories from each of its phases. So before we go down that lane of infinite stories and all the good memories, maybe Didi could share a bit of her experience and her time and her vision for ISPS.
So it's such a privilege to be with and such a joy to be with such a variety of ex-students of ISPS. This is a technical term. I think once you enter an ISPS family, you are a family member all your life. And this translates into a lot of things, many aspects of life after ISPS. Obviously, I feel very close, very bonded with all of you, and can experience it because I was also once a child in Shrimatiji's lap maybe, and then later. So I know the rites of passage as you go through life and the challenges you meet. Coming to ISPS, you come into a world of its own. We're blessed with a great location, and the Himalaya is always standing there and creating an awesome backdrop. But the thing is that the element of love and understanding and mutual support, which we have here, translates intensely from the outer Sahaj world into the world of ISPS. It is something to be experienced. I'm absolutely delighted to spend this time with my buddies here and who come from far parts of the world, from far and near, and that's a tribute to the vision. That's a tribute to Shrimatiji's vision. And we hope that this grows and helps the entire world. I have great expectations of our alumni, and I think they're doing a great job. And we are looking forward to a very, very glorious future.
That's great. I mean, I think there's so many topics to talk about as a student who leaves ISPS. Obviously, there are so many struggles that every human being has to go through, and no student from ISPS is immune to growing up and facing the reality of the world outside, and I guess introspecting and understanding what Sahaj is for themselves. It's a personal journey. Just because, we say, oh, they're born realized, it comes so easy. It's really not the case. No. There are easy things and then there are difficult things, and we go through phases. Sometimes the phases start in the school, sometimes they begin after the school. We're curious, how did Shrimataji deal with, difficult teenage behavior she experienced that in your family when you guys were growing up, or when her grandchildren were growing up? How did mother deal with those difficult times?
So I have two sides to this story. One is that in the classical sense, I don't think I experienced teenage at all. It went from childhood to adulthood. There was no gap there. On the other hand, I think Shri Mataji was so bonded in with us that we didn't experience, it was all about being a child with her. And she did treat me like a child. So this business of teenage, unfortunately or fortunately, I didn't bump into that at all. Also, there was no gap in our communication. I was very, very free with Shri Mataji. Yes, she is the Adi Shakti, and that has to be experienced. You cannot intellectualize it. It's not a mental concept. And especially for somebody who was so close to her, it's so difficult to do it mentally and distance yourself like that. On the other hand, you know that there's a dimension of experience which is beyond your thought process. So what Shri Mataji meant to me, I can't articulate. This is not something I can do with my mind. But it has been and it continues to be an experience with her. And I find whenever I am communicating with her, which I'm doing all the time, I get answers very rapidly. And I feel her protection and warmth all the time. And sometimes her laughter, because we used to laugh a lot together. So it's a great mother-daughter relationship. I was married very young. By today's standards, almost in infancy. So mother had planned to send me far away long ago. And whenever she used to talk about me, she would dismiss and say, I'm not worried about her. It was like that. So the thing was probably, it was a huge compliment to say that, okay, she's fixed, she's done, she doesn't need my, inputs. The other thing was that physically I was very far away. I was married to a very remote part of India, to a very remote culture, and it was a big learning. So that was another journey which Shri Mataji probably expected of me, that I would make there must be some ends to it and some reason for it, for my own growth. And in the end, it turned out so well because I think I learned so much after getting married and living in a completely different culture. But I think the same thing is reflected in children from ISPS who go out in the world, because till there you're in this cocoon, It's a ready-made scenario, and then you break out of this shell and you come out and then you encounter the world. So in a way, it's a reflection of the same journey. And how you deal with what you have to deal with later, armed with your Sahaj persona. And see how you use that persona, or how you're able to interact and uplift what you encounter later. I think that's what is mother's eternal expectations, Sahaj Yogis, how you ameliorate your circumstances and affect other people. Because if you have experienced mother, you have to share her with other people. So that's how it was. We can have so many things, but I would like to hear you now. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, so, you talked about your childhood, and, there was a time in your life when Shri Mataji, came home one day and she had opened the Sahasara. So my question is, what was the biggest difference you saw, or what stood out to you the most? What did you notice after she had opened the Sahasara?
Yeah, so this was in Mumbai, and I was still in Mumbai at that time, I think. Yeah, so we're talking about 70, right? So I was there, and I remember mother came into my room, and she looked at me and she said, do you see a difference in my eyes? And I did see. There was physical difference, and her eyes were almost as they changed their color. They were bright. There was something else, and around her eyes there was a whole crisscross of lines, and she looked at me, she said, can you see the difference? And I was so frightened of the difference. I said, no difference at all. So, I was very young then, and it's very difficult to accept that your mother is not the way she usually is. It's a very scary experience, because the one phenomena in this world you take completely for granted is your mother. My mom. So it was like that. But of course we had... it changed course. Our family changed course because there was a lot of human interaction. She started with one or two, and then the story after that. So our home became very open, and there were lots of people and dealing, and consequently she got very busy. At the human level, I got to see very little of my
Yeah,
mom.
like how did you feel about that?
But at the human level, I missed her.
Yeah.
And I needed my mom all the time,
Yeah.
and all the fun things we used to do together. And we had a perfectly normal childhood with her. But on the other hand, that is why now it's just struck me. Maybe she just got me married so that she said, "Okay, you're done. Move. Now I have to do
I've
this."
got other things to do.
No, really,
Yeah.
it just struck me. Perhaps it was that, because I think I was married even before I'd finished my final master's exam. It was somewhere en route. I had to appear for my exam after I was married. So maybe that is what she hastened. She said, now she's done. And she decided, okay, because Kalpana Didi was already married and settled. And voila, it happened that way. So I mean, the things which we can't interpret in human terms, it's very subtle, how things happen and how mother guides you all the time. We have a very tiny window, as far as what Srimati is doing. And
Right.
that's the thing. So,
I'm just thinking about the day that mother opened the Sahasara. It was the 5th of May, 1970, and I remember my mother and father talking about how she mentioned that even if it was one day later, the world wouldn't be able to be saved, like even one day. So it was urgent. And, the family maybe did need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And your marriages and your degrees and everything, her family work was complete. And she immediately got into it. And I would like to ask you, when did you come to realize your mother as the Adi Shakti? Was there a moment, or was there an event, or when did that kind of materialize for you?
this is the classic question everybody wants to know. So when did the clap of thunder happen? Did you sort of faint or something? But, and what I spoke about earlier also is that, the mind can't tell you anything. And the mind just tells you what it wants to tell you, and it's such a limited instrument. So, and who wants to ever analyze your mom? And she was a mom till the last moment. I mean, she remained a mom. But then Srimati is so many dimensions, and I cannot know her as Adi Shakti from this dimension. You have to experience it. And that's what I do know and do believe, that experience is so profound that we cannot put it even through our, even human expression. When I talk, I can't talk about it. I could describe it vaguely, but it's to be experienced. And everybody experiences, and at that level, I'm nobody. I mean, I'm everybody. So everyone has that experience, and everyone has their own relationship to Srimataji. So yes, she's my mom, so that's one-to-one. But when she's Adi Shakti, she's the same for everyone, and I'm just one of the thousands there at her lotus feet. And we have our own experiences. So it's the same. I would ask Sarita, when did you experience that? There, we're in the same boat.
And how did you feel that when you realized that your family was expanding around the world, and we really feel that you are part of our Sahaj family, and we're so honored to have you here, and we got to spend a lot of time with you personally with Srimati as well. So, how did you feel with your family expanding with all these Sahaj yogis around the world?
Well, we had a lot of fun. It was great. Mother blessed, because we were just a very tiny family in human terms. So meeting so many people who love you without any effort on your part is a great experience. And everyone comes, this is something that people just open their hearts out, and somehow you reach the heart straight away. There's no labor here. It's just spontaneous. That is what I have personally experienced. That when the hearts have to meet, they just do, and there's no effort in building a relationship, because she's the mother, she's the one who's creating it all. Of course, at the human level, there's a lot of human interaction, there's a lot of sharing. We all know we have a huge global family, and everyone is so close, and when you look into the eyes of somebody who loves you, you just see the whole world there. It's so beautiful. But yes, there were times when you feel, wish I had more of my mom, and I wish I could spend time with her. And actually, the best thing was to cuddle mom and to feel her physically, which was what I was doing all my childhood, and she was very cuddly. So it was great, and there would be games with her, and at the human level, she was also very, she was always very amazed with little stories that you would tell. Oh, is that right? Is this what was happening? That kind of thing. And I must say that the thing that gave her at the human level the greatest joy was the arrival of her great-grandchildren. I remember the joy, the sparkle in her eyes when she got to know that she's going to be a great-grandmother. I mean, that moment, just like a fire was lit in her eyes, and when she locked eyes with her granddaughter, and she knew that now there's going to be a grandson, and she was absolutely ecstatic about it. So, the element of Srimataji is the mother. So motherhood, and thereby also the emphasis on love, bonding, and giving all of yourself in love. No conditions, unconditional love. So that is what love is all about, and that is what Srimataji was all about. No measurement of love, it's there. And you just experience love. You can't talk about it, you can't describe it, you just experience it. And that was Srimataji, just flowing with love. And for one and all, you must have heard of all the stories where she just met complete strangers, took them into the house. My father, narrates how he found a stranger wearing his clothes in the living room, So, and they never remembered who the guy was. He left. He was an Australian engineer. And he was in absolute, he was in a mess. And he recuperated, they made sure that he does well, and then he went back to Australia. But they don't know who he was. I said, but do you know his name? No, we don't know his name. Or they forgot. So that kind of thing. So this goes at a very different level. So this is as far as I and my mom are concerned. But then you see the biggest joy, and I know that Srimataji is so tuned in and listening to what we all are saying. The biggest joy for her is to see all of you. Because that is what she wants, and she continuously aspires for the world. People like you come and inhabit the world, and the world, change this world, completely transform it to what Srimataji wants it. And it can happen. So you are the stars now.
So my question would be, if you, as we all are alumni, and after ISPS, we would have hit that one point in our life that it would be like the bare bottom, where we would feel we are almost breaking. So when Srimataji was there with you, if you ever felt that way, what was her advice, or what would you say yourself then?
To a situation which seems almost desperate and without hope.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've seen a lot of people who came to Mother with very, very serious problems. I mean, very basic issues like even personality disorders and, abandonment from the family, and also economic difficulties and so on. And what I found out, now I can only give you my angle to this, because what Srimataji was doing is so vast and varied, I can't. But individually I found that the person seeking whatever that one was seeking received it from Mother. What could Mother give such a person? I'm talking about individuals.
Right.
So she was able to read that person so well. And the whole thing was about balance. The imbalances are an echo of your own inner imbalance. So she would want to rectify that imbalance. She would see it. It's left or it's right. How can you do it? It's absolutely magical how you can set a human being's circumstances right if you go into the center. Because all of it is a material phenomena. And you're reacting even at a physical level. It's there. The energy is physical. You can feel it. You can feel it on your hands. How you balance the energy and how then your life goes into balance. Everything falls into balance. And the thing is, there's no ultimate, talking in material terms, there's no ultimate perfect state.
Right.
There can be so many rights, Depends on what is right for you. That Mother would perceive. She would look at it. I asked her once, I said, Amma, what are you thinking when you're balancing out or fixing or helping a person? And her answer was, nothing. Because you don't think. It's not about thought. It's about the balancing of energies. And she sees the energy, she perceives it. So if I'm going to interview her on that, she's not going to give me answers. Because this is not meant to be spoken, or it's not a dialogue. You can't describe it. You have to experience it. As we all experience various ways. And it's, as you know, absolutely amazing what you go through. When you can feel, sometimes, I don't know, all of you must be feeling heat at times when you suddenly encounter something which is very right-sided. You get strong. I get a blast as if I touched a hot iron almost. Or you can feel the movement of the Kundalini very clearly, as if it's a physical thing, climbing up. Or you get the cool breeze, and so on and so forth. So the thing is, Shrimati is, I experience her all the time, and I know all the... This is me talking, right? But I know her attention is very, very much on each and every one of you. And your joys and sorrows and everything, and you have your own dialogue with her. I know that, because that is the way it is. It's that part. I have asked people, how much of you as a persona does the world know? The world within and the world without. And the common answer has been, the world without knows me 20%. And the world within is 80%. And that world within is where Shrimati stands, because she is seeing you in your world within. So, firstly, I would say you're never alone. Absolutely not. And whenever you experience your ups and downs, it's because you are not coming into the center. So you have to center yourself. We cannot control that which is outside us. We just can't do it. But what we can do consciously is to come to the center. In the worst of situation, it helps. And that's how you deal with the day-to-day story, the wobbly story. And sometimes you're upset. Life is never as you would. It's not made to order. You just don't know what to expect at times. And things happen in ways which you'll caught off guard. It can happen. It happens to everybody. And you have to deal with disappointment and sorrow. Sometimes a lot of joy also. Then if you're in the center, you don't lose your balance, which is the crucial thing. Because you have to take life as it comes. And your balance can very positively affect your environment or people around you. Your joy level can heal people around you. So, and that is what Shrimati expects us to become, her instruments, That is what she's looking at us for. This is one thing, we cannot afford to be weak people. We have to keep our strength going. Yeah, that is what she expects. But now I want to ask all of you to come out with how you experience. And let's not talk about this directly, let's talk about what you visually experience, how you pace yourself, because this is the message, I think, is how you are living on a daily basis at the human level. How is it operating? Because that is the part that people want to know.
All right. So I have this slightly conversational question, right? Which is, you just mentioned about how intellectualizing Sahaj and intellectualizing the understanding of Shrimati and the comprehension of the divine is mostly futile, right? I think, and this is a personal experience, I think closely Aryan would share it because we are from the same batch. But when you're an ISPS, generally you feel that once you leave, you'll be slightly excluded, you'll be slightly ostracized from the group because of who you are, because of the difference in priorities, the difference in your value system. So I think one thing that I've always found a little interesting about myself is how often do we use a form of mental argumentation or mental deliberation to satisfy this argument when we're ostracized or when we're sort of excluded, right? That once you're out there, have you ever tried to yourself or interpersonally, have you ever tried to give Sahaj Yoga or your time in ISPS a mental purview in order to, fit in?
Well, I have something to tell on that. So, what happened? I gave my boards in 2023, class 10th, and I was back to my hometown. Now, my admission for 11th and 12th was done. So, when I got there, it was a boys' residential. So, it was a co-ed school, but it also had for boys' residency. Now, what happens is my first day there. I go there and everything's fine. I had my dinner there in the canteen and I was about to go to sleep, but this is within me that I sit for meditation at least for 15 to 10 minutes on my bed, and the kids around my bed, like almost everybody in that dorm, they saw me and they were like, oh, so they did observe me for one full day, and the next day, the same time, they asked me, could you please tell us about this? And I had a photo of Srimataji beside my bed. So could you please tell us more about her? And then I said, sure. And I gave them realization and they loved it. And they sat on my bed and we all did meditate for 15 minutes. And the next day, on the third day, almost there were 150 kids around that one dorm who wanted to know what is happening in there. And they all came just for self-realization. So that was something I felt in my heart, that yes, this is what ISPS, this is what Sahaj Yoga taught me, and I'm very grateful to what ISPS has given me this, and to all of these people. Well, I'm not sure if they do it or not, but as a Sahaja, it's our duty to give them realization. So that was the point where it satisfied that eventually being in ISPS and then the aftermath of leaving ISPS gives you joy even if you're not in ISPS. So that was the moment for me.
In fact, as I said, that once you're part of ISPS, you'll always be a part of ISPS.
Yeah.
It's just a relocation, that's all.
Right.
Because I view it as a family. I mean, look at us sitting here and all of various ages, but I think all extremely dear to me and family. So this is Srimataji's miracle, that how she bridges all the gaps in the terms of geography, in terms of emotion, and in terms of the mind. Absolutely. And I want to pause and say, look what happens outside in the world.
Right.
And how people relate to one another, and how mental and how superficial can an association get. How fragile are relationships.
Right.
So you look at that and then you look at this. So this is one very, I think, vocal factor. That here human beings, there's a song, no? A long old ghazal where they say, किसके लिए जीते हैं हम किसके लिए जीते हैं. So किस लिए जीते हैं हम किसके लिए जीते हैं. So I find the answer here. That this is the, there's no death, why we are functioning and, why our hearts beat. Srimataji just hit bullseye there. Giving you the ability to live your life with joy regardless, And I think that's a great thing, because that's what people are dealing with it at a global level. How to survive in the tough times they face. So it's a bit like that. So I think what Ishan had sort of posed was, do you feel challenged in basic terms, that do you feel challenged? Did you ever feel challenged because of your Sahaj background when you went into in that world outside? What was your encounter like, and what did you have to do to deal with it?
More than that, I think, sorry.
Yes.
But, more than that, I think maybe it's interesting to know, because we are all, of course, from different walks of life and different ages. But maybe it's interesting to know how you have a certain relationship with Sahaj here. And once you leave, that changes. And at every part of life, when you start a family or whatever, in different phases of life, you have different relationships with Sahaj. So how do you think that relationship has changed and ISPS has impacted that relationship?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I mean, your connection with the divine that you feel in meditation, I feel doesn't really change. That's a constant. And in the challenges that you have, like when you leave ISPS, especially if you've grown up here your whole life, and you're surrounded completely by the culture of the spirit, and you're so nourished and you're so sustained, you're just
and protected as well.
And so protected, and a little bit naive as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you go back home, especially to the West, and I think even now to India, there is a culture shock. You go from the culture of the spirit to Kali Yuga. Like, you can't help but being shocked. You're physically shocked a lot of the time. And I feel that in that sense, we are not desensitized here when we're students. Our innocence is maintained. And then when you go home, that's when you start really having reactions, strong reactions to things that maybe other people your age were desensitized to a long time ago. So it's not a big deal if they do this, it's not a big deal. But it's a huge deal for you as a yogi, and it's a big deal. You feel it in yourself, and you don't want to compromise that. And having other Yuva Shakti around you that, kind of support you, especially if there's peer pressure, if you're going to your own school and you're the only person there, then having the Yuva Shakti that you know in your mind and in your heart, they have your back, and your challenges will be supported by them, and they'll be going through the same thing. It definitely, you have a camaraderie, you have the camaraderie of the spirit, that you are all going through that together and encouraging each other and supporting each other. So that's very important when you leave ISPS, that there is a collective or a family or people that you love and relate to that can support you. And another thing is, like, when you go back to the world, I don't feel so comfortable, especially growing up in Sahaja. It's not something I found and I have to tell everyone else. It's more something that this is the way I live, and just by my example,
exactly.
just by I don't want to go and talk to people. I'm not the kind of,
you're not going to preach.
Yeah, not that at all. But with my example, you can show an alternative way of life, and that is almost more powerful to your peers. I found in high school and university days, that was definitely something I experienced. Yeah.
Miss Akula.
Yeah, I think the challenge about talking about Sahaj has definitely gotten a bit easier for me. When I first went to school in class 11, which, we went to the same school in Sydney, not at the same time. I didn't know how to speak about Sahaj. Everyone was obsessed with the fact that, she went to the Himalayas. She was in this international boarding school in the Himalayas. Did you wear army, uniform?
Yeah.
They had all these questions about it. That was a great icebreaker. They were really interested in she went to the Himalayas. That was really cool to them. And then when it came to the part about, who's that lady over there? I would struggle to answer that question because, you have to explain everything. You can't just say, it's just Shrimadaji. No one knows who that is. It's not like if it's Christian has a cross or,
Yes.
each religion has their symbol.
Yes.
That's it kind of it for us, but we can't just, it's so hard to explain without explaining everything.
A lot of things, yes.
And, in high school I didn't really, talk about that stuff, but, like you said, more about looking at the example that you're setting instead of just explaining and preaching. And, a lot of ex-students, when they leave, they kind of go into their shell and they become this very quiet person, and they struggle to maybe form friendships or interact with people because we are in this bubble. And I was here for 10 years, so I was interacting with the same people for 10 years. I wasn't necessarily making new friendships or whatever, if new people came, obviously, but then you're on your own, you have to do all these things, and I kind of just became this quiet person. But that's not who I am. I'm not an introverted person, but that's the person I became. And then eventually, I went to university. I got, started working at Starbucks as a part-time job. And I feel that, once you step into university, you start opening up a bit more. People are different. People are interested in these things. And I had a friend in Starbucks who was, really interested, what is your religion? And because she kept asking me questions, I kept answering, and because she was Muslim, and there was so many relationships between Islam and Sahaj, and it was really fascinating to see all these things. And I eventually did give her realization, and she really enjoyed it. But I think when somebody is asking you questions and is really interested in it, it's a lot more easier to open up about it, and especially if they're religious themselves, you can make connections between Sahaj, between Sahaj and the religion. And she would ask me really, really good questions that would often put me on the spot, and sometimes I wouldn't even know, like, oh, let me just find the answer for that, and I'll talk to my dad or look it up or something. But yeah, I think definitely as I've gotten older, I'm more comfortable talking about it. I said, oh yeah, this is my religion. We acknowledge all religions, we acknowledge all the prophets before, and it's to do with meditation, and it's to do with being your own guru and doing everything yourself. And no one, and the thing that I think my friend really struggled with was like, what are your rules? Like, because they've got really clear-cut rules in all the other religions, and it's like, well, Shumanaji said we don't have to, but it's suggested that you don't drink, and then it's suggested that you don't do that, but it's completely up to you. And it's so hard for them to understand that. They're like, what? Do you have rules? But yeah, like definitely it's gotten easier. And, I think also talking about how it's so structured here, meditation is led for you every single day. And then when you do go into the real world, you have to wake up, meditate yourself, and meditate at the end of the day as well. Like no one's sitting there waiting to lead a meditation for you. Like it's so easy here. And, that's also a challenge as well when you go out. You have to really push yourself. And, that's why the collective is so important. And especially being a Yuva Shakti, having people your age is so important. So that you can, relate and talk to each other about.
In so many ways.
Yeah, exactly.
And the human race is meant to live in a collective way.
Yes.
We're not loners.
Yeah, we're not meant to be by ourselves.
No. So
yes.
that's part of I think the highly evolved model is to have people, like-minded people, who are not aggressive, who are not competitive, who are not bent upon destroying each other. I think that's a huge model. Because you look at what happens outside. And how nobody trusts anybody. You don't really open your heart out. You're very reluctant to share your life with somebody. And here, maybe I had this advantage of knowing so many people from so many countries, and I met strangers who have spoken their heart out like that. Just come out and bonded like that, and given me absolute flowing love in so many countries. So she's taken us to another level of unity and spirit, complete unity, and also allowed us to understand, which they say in the scriptures, in Sanskrit scriptures in India, they say anitya vivek, the discretion of what is permanent and what is temporary. So this is what Mother facilitates us, but it's our journey. It's not a ready-made cooked meal. We have to cook it. We have to cook it. So Neera, how are you cooking it?
I think, they've spoken so beautifully. For me, I think in the school, in Sahaj environments, we have our own language. We talk about chakras, we talk about all of these things. And sometimes it's sort of assumed knowledge, It's a bit of indoctrination in a way until you feel it from your heart.
Right.
But you accept it, you love it, everything is beautiful here. Then when they ask you questions when you leave it, I remember thinking, oh my God, what is a chakra? What is a chakra?
I didn't know
I didn't know any technical proper terminology, and I was like, but we have them.
But you can't see them.
It's a subtle system, solar plexus. Like, I'm trying to remember all the words and figuring it out. So that journey, like that seeking journey that kicks in for yourself, for everybody, makes you want to learn it and understand and be able to explain it to people. I do remember being quite determined when I left the school. I was ready to leave in class 10. I was like, my time here is really finished and I'm ready. And I went and I thought, they'll never change me. I don't care. Well, like I had almost a defensive position going into the school. Feeling like everybody is kind of a bit crazy and the Western world, you're not really good and blah, blah, blah. And I think that was too much on the offensive. I was, a bit scared in a way. And once you get to know, they're just lovely people everywhere.
Of course, yes.
And they're open a lot of the time, and they're interested, especially when you yourself have an open heart. And as my heart began to relax a little bit in the new environment, I was able to, I guess people kind of gravitate to Sahajogis. You don't expect it and you don't have to do very much, but somehow Shrimataji puts a person in your path who needs something, and you're this vessel, the opportunity to give that thing to them. And I think that was a beautiful, beautiful experience as I've gone and grown through all of that. But yes, there's so many difficult things that you have to face. Like every human has to face them. And it's the facing of them that builds the character. You have your roots here. You have the depth here, the vibration, the ease of meditation. I remember being in class 2 and I ran into the meditation hall. I was so late for meditation, and I sat down, and in my mind I said, Shrimataji, I just can't meditate today. I can't do it. I'm just going to sit. And then the vibrations started, she just poured all these vibrations on me. And I felt, okay, she's just going to take care of me. She's going to love me no matter what. I mean, it was a beautiful experience.
Yes. And that's the essence of it.
That's the essence. And the roots grow so deep. And then when you go outside, the roots get tested.
Yeah.
And they have to be tested.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah. But that's the journey, I think, Nina. I think it's the destiny of us as a human race that we have to ascend. And we cannot stay as Homo sapiens. We have to become Homo spiritualis.
Yes.
That's our state that we have to achieve. And that's the cause of all our restlessness and anxiety and imbalances. Because we are striving there, but we're still finding the path to get there. So for me, it's like that, and it's beautiful. And all of this is beautiful because each part of a journey is beautiful. You have to walk that path.
Yes, that's it.
So, my feeling is mostly mutual, but maybe an interesting tangent to this conversation. So you mentioned running into the meditation hall when you were in class 2, and this place where we're sitting right now, the library, this used to be a meditation hall sometime at some point in time.
I don't know how we fit now. It's too small. But
So this used to be a meditation hall. Now it's a library and apparently a podcast room. So a lot has changed, right? From each of our individual eras, a lot has changed. Maybe not mine because I just graduated this year. And 3 of you have been staff members now, and you've seen a particular time at ISPS, and now you're in a completely different time. Post-COVID, a lot of things changed, right? And even I would say for Aryan, it's more or less the same because we're from this time. Not to make anybody sound old, but what do you think? And there are sweet and sour stories, some which are best unsaid, and stories which must be accentuated. So, what do you think has changed, and how do you think the kids have changed?
do you want to go first?
The kids are amazing.
Yeah.
The kids are amazing. I mean, Shrimataji mentioned in one of her earlier speeches about the Dharamshala children that the teachers had to pull them out of trees, and it's absolutely true. There weren't any fences, and it was just a small, small building, a cottage when it first began. So we were very much living amongst the forest, and the discipline was just beginning, and the teachers didn't know how to kind of work with the Western children at that time. So definitely there are more rules. As a parent, there's a nice big fence now, and that makes me really happy. But as a student, I feel a bit sad that the forest isn't visited as much as it could be. And actually, I remedy that by taking the kids when I can on forest walks. So, lots of things has changed. I find it difficult when teachers complain about the children now.
Yeah.
They're so good. Yeah. They're so well behaved.
Especially
By the way, tomorrow is Children's Day, people.
Tomorrow is
So
Children's Day.
this might be a scheme of it all.
And I know that, generations in between us, like Akula's time and Miss Naranjan's time, the kids were also pretty wild back then. I don't know if you want to share.
Yeah, it was totally crazy. I mean, I heard legends about the people who'd come before us, like my brother's generation. They used to have wars out on the field, and I was like, oh, you mean like a game war? They're like, no, it was real war. They made weapons, and the girls had to be nurses and actually tend to real wounds. I mean, that's what they said.
Yeah,
it was like, but that just sounded magical to me. I was like, well, I can't wait. There were no wars when I was here, but it was a bit more wild.
Yes.
I think I'm really happy to be a teacher at this time, and really glad I was a student at my time.
Censor this. If you're considering coming here, it's just not happens.
Yeah, sometimes when I see how many rules there are, I'm like, I'm glad. I was a student when, you know, there was fewer rules. I mean, when you look at the children though, they are the same in a way.
Of course.
You know, unconditional love, bubbly, just so, you know, full of energy. The focus is amazing, everything. But yeah, it's changed. Like, I think we had this conversation at the beginning of the year. Like, it's changed a lot, but it's still the same. The essence of the school is still the same.
Good save.
It's just more rules. If we can get rid of some rules.
This is the community that engineers rules.
Let them, yeah, but we definitely had a lot more freedom. Like,
But
more independence, you know.
The thing that stayed the same is the meditations.
Yes.
Morning and night, Sahaj treatment, Sahaj culture, bhajans, Shimanaji's talk,
Yeah.
the silence, the grandeur of the mountains, that's all the same. And whether a student stays here for 1 year or 12 years, it can have the same
We'll
impact.
still have a connection
It can
to
have
it.
the same impact, yeah.
But I will also say, like, the boys from my generation were, you know, probably the worst that the school's seen.
She was saving it so well.
Bring it back. No, I'm about to save it. So coming back, you know, this year, I was expecting, you know, everyone to be naughty and everything, and I walked past the first boy, and they were like, oh, Jay Shumanaji miss. I'm like, what? I'm like, really? And then I went to the meditation, and the boys are just singing kavalis so passionately. And it literally brought me to tears, because the boys from my generation would be caught, like, wouldn't be caught dead doing that. Like, you'd never imagine them doing it. So seeing the boys so passionate about Sahaj, sometimes even, I mean, not about Sahaj, about music, about bhajans, about all those things, sometimes more than the girls, is so beautiful to see. And that made me feel so happy, because, you know, my generation wasn't
To
that
any
great.
of the boys from her generation, she's just giving you a hard time. You
No, you should have been there. You should have been there. They know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like, it's come a long way. A long way.
I think, you know, the circumstances of children you're experiencing are entirely different, because they come from the age of tech, so much information, they are so much more grown up. And so therefore they're impacted a lot by a lot of things going on. So, you know, the capacity to process information, it's not about innocence, it's just about information. And so I think they just deselect things which are not really worthwhile, something that is going to help them. They have a better judgment of how to choose. So the child is always there, but it's a very manicured child now, because of the word, actually. And that's great, because then they can take the optimum use of what they're offered here, you know. They can absorb it better, so they don't have to jump so many hoops. You know, they just go straight to it. And that's fantastic, I think, because the innocence is intact, but the hearts are open, you know, the minds are open, they're intelligent. And so, you know, when I look into little kids and their eyes, and when I communicate, I see that they're connecting immediately. You know? They're not blank. Children are not, even the little ones are not blank. They're reading something.
Yes,
You can feel that intelligence. So it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Can I ask you one question as the English teacher? What kind of books did Shimanaji get you to read when you were a child? Did she make you read books? What did she suggest?
So the thing was that Shimataji herself was a very avid reader as a child. She told me that, you know, she picked up a book and she wanted to finish it. She wouldn't want to put it down. And she came from a vast, she had 7 or 11 brothers and sisters. So I imagine it was a home which was bubbling. So there was a little difficulty in locking yourself away, but she was keen to finish. So she said, I had to climb up a tree and hide and read the book so that she could finish it. So
Very ISPS.
So that's where it's coming from. Now I understand. Okay. And then, of course, the other thing was that I remember when I was about 6 or 7 years old, we had a book about the lives of some of the spiritual masters we've had, like Vivekananda and Ramakrishna Paramahans. I was like this big, and I was reading them. I'm a little shocked myself saying it, but this was there. I remember mother narrating stories about Vivekananda and his sense of focus, and how he was just asked once to, on the River Thames, there was these ducks, decoys, and shooting them, and he never handled a gun, and he shot each one perfectly. So she says, she was telling me that is the story of attention. If you have good attention, you don't need that practice, because your attention is so good. So things like that. Then literature, Shrimataji used to write short stories. Yes, long ago she used to do that. She wrote some poems, and yes, I remember some of them. And she was she used to paint. She had abstract art. She used to do all that. She used to stitch some of our clothes. Yes, that used to happen. And apart from reading, but the thing is, Meera, that when you're growing, and I went to a convent school, so we had a library cupboard. It's also something to do with your persona, and each child is different. So I don't know, I probably was one of those who liked to open the cupboard and take books out, and the school would encourage us to read. So I was very fond of books, and I would just have the same thing, and I have to finish it. If I open it, I've got to finish it. So that helps. So that was nice. Yeah, she was very fun. And of course, the number one thing was music. So perhaps I should narrate to you that story of how she wanted desperately that we learn classical music. Kalpana Didi and I, vocal classical. So she got this poor thing, this master, he got roped into trying to teach us music, classical music, And he would come, very faithfully, and sit down with the harmonium. And Kalpana Didi has a beautiful singing voice, And I was sort of the came along type, so. And I used to kind of try to run away, hide in the bathroom, hide under the bed, so that I would be roped into the lesson, but then I'd be dragged out. I'd be dragged out and say, come on, sit down, and so on. The poor thing, but strangely enough, and I was half there kind of, and Didi had a natural talent to sing, but surprisingly, I remembered each and everything that he taught us. And Shrimataji was very keen on it, that you should, because she was very keen on classical music. That's one thing that, if you would say the human level of passion, I would say that was Shrimataji's passion. It was music. And so that's how in the end it translated to so many people going to Ganpati Pule, so many artists, even to Kabela. We have very, very high-class artists. And Shrimataji also encouraged, there was a time when my father used to work for this shipping company, which was actually merchant marine, but they had some passenger liners also. So the original tradition was to send, to have bands and people would dance in the evenings. So Shrimataji said, no, we don't want all that. And she would get classical musicians to perform. So we had big names went, like Kishori Amonkar, Vincent Joshi, all these people, Jalota ji, Purushottam Das Jalota, who still his son remembers, when he sees me, it's like I met him when he was 17 years old. So there's a lot of sweetness when he meets. So the other thing was that artists were always very needy. So it was a great help to have somebody who could, support them with whatever little could. And classical music was at that time not what it is today. I mean, obviously a lot of things that this has now expanded, and you can earn very well if you organize yourself properly. So, and I at that time, even Kumar Gandharv has performed in one of the functions of the shipping company. That's all Shrimataji is doing. We had dance performances of a Kathak dancer called Sadhana Didi, who was, there was a dancer called Gopi Krishna, she was a sister. These are famous names before your time. Shiv Kumar Sharma, the Santulias, who performed at home. And of course then Bhajan Sapuri has gone all over to Kabela, so he used to practice such. And his wife, and now his son Abhay. So they're amazing. So Shrimataji's flowing love for music, passion absolutely for music. So in fact we used to use that at times to avoid a conflict about some unrelated issue. Start music, and then the whole mood would change. So this is one method we had.
Definitely.
Yes, but then she blessed us with this same passion, and I think in some ways all Sahaj Yogis share that passion for music. We know about that, don't we? So it's a beautiful world, and we're so lucky to be here together like this. I think it's a historical moment, and let's hang on to it for the rest of our lives, wherever we go, wherever we are. Together in the heart always.
Thank you.